All right, Cyber Traders, welcome on back here this Monday, January 23rd, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back for our afternoon meeting, another big runner on this GNS. Great to see all of our students and members alike here. Chuck, Felix, we had Mike, John just joining us right now, Michael C. Perfect. All right, so folks, let's hop right to it here. We're continuing class coming up later on today, just ahead actually at 3:05 Eastern Time. Great to see all of us back on social media though, Facebook Live or YouTube. Hopefully I'm good to go there. It looks like I am. So with that in mind, we'll just start our way to begin on the GNS trade. Now, briefly, folks, GNS, man, it was a big mover from Friday, right? It ended up having a big push in pre-market, then dumped off nastily. Well, I mapped out a couple of levels going into the open on this trade, but just a moment ago, I was coming off a coaching call with one of our students, and at the time, it was making a pretty clean re-break above a resistance. We saw it together on the coaching call, right off 417, and it honestly popped and we turned over to it a little bit after the fact when it was already at like 450, 440-ish, so I didn't want to chase it, of course, right? You don't want to just jump in head first, because you don't know if this is going to make the exact type of run that we're getting. So, it's just to say, once it rebroke, huge volume level off of 417, whew, oh my goodness, this ended up breaking above 5 so effortlessly to the point where, just ran up like 60, 70 cents plus. So that's where I said to all of us inside the live trading room, hey, if you missed out on this move in particular, all right, there's going to be plenty of other stocks out there that we're going to look to try and catch. Not only that, but hey, what if this comes back down? What if this pulls back? Well, just like we talked about in class earlier today, the phase two, well, simple, just in terms of like trying to contain emotion and just focus on the strategy at hand as best as possible. When a stock breaks above resistance and it runs off of it, resistance should become support. So I would look for 5 to become potential support on a pullback here for GNS. Perhaps it holds here where it is now and then runs, but I would initially look for that 5 level first and see where it goes from that point. But yeah, GNS, I'll put this on our main list just to begin. Nice runner so far. We have another mover. It's like kind of like a jogger, like a power walker, not a runner. You got the CEI trade. Now, this one we're really familiar with. We had this on our pre-market watch list early this morning, but it didn't really amount to much at first. This stock made a huge squeeze for us like a year or two ago, not from $30, but the stock's been split over and over since. I think this was the bigger move from what we were actually focused on with the stock back then. So, this was back in late 2021, ended up having a huge run. Now, again, at the time of that run, it was like a 60, 70-cent stock, and it ran up as high as like $5 at the time. It was a crazy move. Ended up coming out with some sort of bad news midday. I recall it like the back of my hand. It ended up reopening up like in the afternoon one day, down 88%. It was a crazy move. And from that point, obviously, it's dropped off. And the reason why the stock is doing a split to begin with, the company is likely to remain above Nasdaq listing requirements. So, with that being said, at some point you look for this stock to make a fraction of the type of run it made for us back then. And so far today, it's done that pretty nicely. It took a while to get the gears going, but it ended up breaking above resistance off of 195. That was kind of right when we were in class. I was expecting that, so to say. And, hey, it still made for a nice move. Ended up bottoming out right off that 214, 215 that we were looking at actually in class then at that point, and then moved back up. So, hey, I hope this trade runs up higher for us here. Definitely going to put this on our list alongside the GNS. Let me bring up level 4 while I'm at it here. This stock unfortunately didn't make as good of a squeeze as I'd like for it to at this point. There's still plenty of time left. But with that in mind, you see these iceberg orders popping in and out, not just on the ask, but also on the bid too. So this is actually a good sign here, having these like 21,000 or so share orders out there on the bid. But it's still got to break through a little bit more resistance here now at 235, about a 33,000 share order sitting there. Hopefully it could just run over that iceberg, because off of 234, 235, there really isn't much above it, at least as of now. So, we'll see if this could end up giving us a nice run. All right, before I trip over my words here, let's go from top to bottom, though. Otherwise, we'll see what else we can grab here. I got the crazy INBS. So, this one now, we're not going to really look to trade, at least not yet. I wouldn't expect for it to make a second win type of move. I think it's already made such a big move today altogether from the morning that it's just going to exhaust out or just pull back lower. So, I have no business with this trade here. All right, we'll keep it moving though. You got GNS, you got FFIE. Ooh, look at this. Continued up heading into the early to mid afternoon. Now, I had a message from one of our new students about this. And they were saying, hey, is FFIE a good stock to watch? I'm like, at this point in the day, and I said that to them at like 1 p.m. Eastern time. I said, at this point in the day, I feel like it's made most of its move already. All right, continued up a little bit higher. I was to a good degree wrong with that, right? It's okay to miss moves from like late morning, early afternoon, mid afternoon. This is not necessarily the best time to be actively trying to take trades. So it ended up actually continuing the trend up. Nice if anyone held on, but normally reversal times at 10:30, and that member was asking me that question at like 1 p.m. So, you got to figure at some point it's going to give out, but at least here on this one ended up continuing up just a bit more. Normally, we don't trade these stocks below $1 too often, unless if it's like making the type of move as like GNS or the INBS or OTRK from last week. They don't come too often. So actually, this past week has been kind of a rarity. CEI, it's already on our list at this point. I'm hoping for the break over that 235. IINN, just a pop and drop type of stock. Say the same on DBGI here, just not really making as good of a move right now. You got Wayfair, pretty expensive, so that's like really the main reason as to why I would stay away from this trade. Has a thin book, so if it was showing really good direction, that's one thing, but I mean, that GNS is just a lot better of a trade right now. Got SPRC. Just going to go down the rest of the gainers list here, folks. Got the market making a bit of a pullback prior to 2 p.m. Zoom out on the 5-minute chart here. You'll see the SPY. So, kind of peaked just prior to 2 p.m., pulling back a bit steadily. Rivian, I was going to say, I got my stocks mixed up here with Beyond Meat, but Rivian actually up over 11%. Had a good pop from the morning, but it seems like it's pulling back with the market right now. Ooh, missed out on Beyond Meat. Wow. I ended up seeing this on the gainer side here. I was going to get to it anyway, but hand up, this is my first look at this trade right now as a whole. So I missed out on this whole move. Ran up from like 1560 up to like 17. This stock could be a good short squeeze type of stock. And I think we even said that from like, end of last year or mid of last year. And I mean, hey, I had a small little push, but then dumped back down. So when we say it's a short squeeze candidate, it's not a swing trade. It's not a swing trade, because if you're wrong on that, these heavily shorted stocks are going to come right back down. So, that's where you see Bed Bath Beyond right back down. That's where you see Carvana right back down. So, it's a good day trade opportunity, hell of a day trade opportunity here for Beyond Meat. It's one that we're familiar with. It has a pretty good book for right now. So I'll put this on our main list here. All right. What else we got here to wrap up the gainer side? I see a whole bunch of stuff that's up big. So, if there's anything else that looks good, folks, type it in the chat board now. Just help me out. We got class coming up in just about 20 minutes. We got the Tesla ETF, TSLL, made a nice move today, up over 10%. I'm not really too particular about the ETFs today. There's Carvana. It's actually had a nice little pump back up once again this morning. So, I shouldn't say that as much about Carvana, but I don't think Bed Bath has had as good of a day. Those short squeeze type of stocks. Speaking of, from the corner of my eye, I just caught it here. I have this on my other screen, so you best believe when CEI popped like this, I turned it right over to it for you folks. So just blasted right over that 234, 235. Let's keep the trade moving here, folks. All right, so going back to Carvana, not really too thrilled about this right now. Rounded top, pulling back down, so I'll pass. But let's see if there's anything looking just as good, if not better, on the loser side. Hey, folks, if there's anything else looking as good from the gainers list, type it in the chat board now. We'll take a look, work together as a team. CPRX, I think I put this on the main list, but kind of at the bottom, or if anything, it was on like the pre-market list, right? Yeah, it was on the morning one. So, it dropped off early in pre-market. It bounced back up temporarily. I had a good feel it was going to pull back, but I was a lot more inclined to follow. Those that were on the gainers list here this morning, the GNS, the CEI, etc. So ended up missing out on the short myself. Dropped off from like 18 down to sub 15, sub 14 even. Right now, this thing's just really flat though for the afternoon. So order book actually is filled in a bit, but not really too tradable here. Lack of trend. All right, let's see if there's anything else looking good here. I don't really see much else, folks. So, really, that's it. If there's anything else, just type it in the chat board here. Certainly, if there's anything I had missed. Got nothing from the trading room. I have nothing from Benzinga Pro. That's actually how you could tell. Like, all right, we've gone through most of them. So NRSN, not really doing much of anything there. Checking out social media, Facebook Live or YouTube right now. I believe that we're good to go there, but no comments, no other stocks. Hey, we searched through them all right now. We took about 10 minutes just now to search through the gainers and losers lists, and we've mustered up 3 stocks in total, and that's it. I think I did a pretty good job at keeping it simple. That's off the difference between myself and Fausto. Fausto with 30 plus years of experience with teaching, let alone trading. He knows how to keep it concise and to the point. I mean, every now and then he'll pump out a larger list, but I do that a little bit more often than him. I tend to see the opportunity a little bit more in some of these trades. So, that's where you'll see me put out a stock list of like 10, 12 out there. 3, oh, we'll take it. I mean, we don't need to get any bigger of a list than that, honestly. So, hey, Rich will be on the mic for all of us here inside the live trading room, just beginning at 3 o'clock Eastern time. So, hey, from now until then, there could be 1 or 2 other things that make a freak pop or sudden move. If it ends up making a big pop, then we'll look to call it out. But I would rather start with the GNS, start with the CEI, the Beyond Meat trade. And then once Rich is on the mic, then at that point, if there's anything moving for you folks there not joining me in class, then look to call it out. All right. But for Alex, Bonnie, Grant, Leda, and just all of us here otherwise joining me in the Phase 2 stock course, I look forward to talking to you folks coming up just shortly after 3 p.m. Take care.